start your business time.
Real estate is booming.
What's up? What's up? What's up, family? Moment. This is going to be a fire show. Fire show. Trash. Be a fire show. Let me get my setup. I got my boy MVP Chris Harris. Chris Harris is going to be on here. What am I doing? Okay, let me get right here. All right. Let me get my setup. Here we go. Yes. My boy Chris Harris is going to be on here. And, man, we got some things to talk about, man. YouTube Streets is fire right now. It is fire. Let me get right here. It's fire. We got all kind of things going on from HOK to SVDL to, Fold to, Lion's Den. It's a lot going on. It's a lot. Oh, I got my boy Chris Harris in here. Let me get him on right now. Okay, let me add my man. I'm gonna add you to this stream. Let me cut this off right here. Here we go. Cut this off. Here we go. Right here. My man. Here we go. My man Chris Harris. Can you hear me?
Yo.
Can you hear me, Chris?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Okay, now I can. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me see. Can you hear me now? Chris? Can you hear me?
You muted.
Oh, okay. Here we go. So, as I say, I got my main man, my ninja, Chris motherfucking MVP Harris here today. And we're going to get some of this shit straight about what's going on in these YouTube streets. You know, somebody had the unfortunate experience of calling Candyman 3 times, and Chris pulled up on him, and it didn't end well for him. Just didn't end well. How you doing, Chris?
What's going on?
Oh man, I'm good. So, what have you been up to, Chris, since the the funeral ceremony of Judah?
Just really been relaxing, man. I know Pastor Bennett. It's been rumblings that he kind of like want to have a debate, but from what me and him had discussed in the past, the subjects aren't really interesting, to say the least. And, prior to that, I just been chilling, man. Just been relaxed, enjoying my algorithms with everybody mentioning my name right now. So, undefeated the last 8 years. You know it.
Yeah. Hey, man, can you give some insight on, because in this community, man, a lot of people have had good success, but I haven't known anyone to have had your streak. Can you go? I mean, where did that start? Because I'm sure you lost a debate, right? You had to lose some debate, but when did your streak start?
Oh man, sometimes really, the debates I have lost, they were very controversial. I think I've only lost two debates. One was to Orthodox Moore, and the other one was to T Duck, and everybody said that those were um, debates that should have went my way. So understanding that I can't really call it. You know what I'm saying? I really don't know when it started, but I've been debating since what, 2011, for almost 11 years now, since Sal Showtime. And I had a lot of success, excuse me, debating for the Bible, New Testament, Old Testament. And now I'm having just as much success debating against it, or debating against a lot of the assertions that it makes about its legitimacy. So yeah, I've been doing pretty good once I started studying history and not just the Bible. Once I began to study history, I began to see this doctrine or this document for what it is. You know?
I see that. I see that, man. And I know that, it's hard because, a lot of people be coming for your head, and I be, I be in these YouTube streets, and I be on panels and I listen, and it's funny because the people who make the most videos are the ones who lost, right? And it seems like you can tell how bad they lost based on how many videos they do. And then you can
Yeah.
also tell, you can also tell because they have like, 6 or 7 people on a panel, and they all trying to propagate this narrative that the person's trying to push. Like, man, you beat me up, so let me go get my big brother, and let me go get my cousins, and let me go get my big homie, and we, what I'm saying, we go verbally bash you, and if we do it enough, then people think that that I really won. That's some of the things I thought that was kind of crazy. What do you think about that?
It happens. Sometimes when or before debates are made, both people are coming in there with the intent to win. But unfortunately, only one person is going to be proclaimed the winner, or one person is going to have a more accurate. Excuse me, 1 second. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Unfortunately, only one person's going to win that debate and walk away the winner of that debate. And it depends on how this person sticks to his information and how he's able to parlay or structure his argument to the audience. So once person A or person B is able to do that, person A or person B will win the debate.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So one of the things that's been going on, man, and I'm sure you heard it. There's some things on Facebook. Is the It's not even controversy, but it's definitely some talk about how if you beat Judah or not, and you were off topic and so forth and so on. Where they were saying it so much that I was like, you know what, let me go look at this film again. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, what are they talking about? Because when I look at the debate, and I've looked at it several times, I tried to look from different angles, and I didn't see what they were seeing. What do you think they mean when they was talking about like you were off topic? Because I didn't see that you were off topic. I saw that you had made your points and you provided, your argument, and you moved forward. So what do you think they looking at?
Well, we must first understand what the argument was. And the day prior, Judah was going against Napah, and I called in there and began to beat Judah Nazareth up on that fake, phony language he running around calling the Yahweh Daif bullshit. So we started speaking about the debate, and I was trying to get the parameters of the debate ironed out. Now, what these guys like to do is they like to come with these very obscure titles. right? Because the more obscure the title, the more the Hebrew Israelite is able to paint a picture, because they really don't have anything to stand on. This is the first thing we have to understand. He called it Torah or Ma'at, which one is better for our people. Now, if anybody's ever paid attention to this guy, the first thing you'll understand is he's got like 1,000 debates all over YouTube with these same titles. And what he's trying to do is to get you with a title like that. He wants you to defend more temple science, Christianity, any religion that he decides to go against. What he wants to do is have a pissing contest while you defend it. So me being smart, when we were discussing the debate, I said, are you saying that Ma'at is evil because you teach that Torah is better for our people? I'm telling you it's not. That's my argument. And I'm going to show you how and why it's evil. That was my argument, and that's what I stuck with. If you're saying Ma'at is evil, please go into the several principles or the 42 negative confessions and please show it. He's talking about a king. He's talking about Atum. He's talking about Tem. He's talking about everything except for Ma'at. And that's the problem we had in the debate. Well, his problem. Because what he wanted me to do was to talk about Ma'at, and him just sit back and have a pissing contest on Egypt, and it puts him in the clear. No, that's not what I'm doing. You teach that Torah is better for our people. I don't teach anybody Ma'at is good for them. You all don't hear me say that, because I don't speak for all black people in this country. I speak for my household. So we were on that panel. It's easy. First thing I asked him. He didn't know how to answer that, so he said, yeah. And saw Netter's eyes, and everybody on the panel's eyes got big, like, you gonna prove that? He said, yes. So what he did was create red herrings, create slippery slopes, every other logical fallacy that you can think of in that debate. And right after the debate, he decides to go live and say he won the debate. Now I made a couple of $100 after that debate, saying people telling me thank you. But what I didn't want to do was talk to him. I should have questioned him. That's the only regret I have. But other than that, he failed to show anything in the 7 principles of Ma'at being evil. So the Hebrews, because I'm very arrogant, conceited, they decide, yeah, we're going to go on this campaign and say Chris lost. We're tired of him beating us all up. So, I mean, that's pretty much what happened in a nutshell. And the things where they saying you need a pharaoh to keep Ma'at, it was hilarious because there's no writings that show that. Absolutely none. They are reading articles, misunderstanding what's being stated, because like I said, they lack proper comprehension. The pharaoh is responsible for maintaining Ma'at. That is correct. And the people believe that their kingdom would fall into chaos if they didn't have a pharaoh. Well, one of the reasons why their kingdom would fall into chaos is because the pharaoh was also seen as a military leader. And he was in charge of structuring the army. So everything they did was in tune with balance, which is a part of Ma'at. So for them to say that, remember, you have to prove it, because during the Ptolemaic period, you still have writings that speak about Ma'at. You can go into certain cultures inside of Africa today, and you can still see them wearing the ostrich feather of Ma'at. So we need to really be asking these guys, where are you getting this from? I don't want to entertain any more of your arguments until you first show me a writing. So that's what the debate was about. I wasn't there to defend Ma'at. I don't have to. Egypt, Ma'at, Nubia, Songhai, Mali, every other kingdom that has resided in Africa stands on its own. It don't need me to speak for it. It speaks for itself. It's evidence there. You can go look at it. You can go to the museums and study it. There is no evidence concerning this so-called Israel narrative that they want you guys to hold on, or they want the world to hold on to. There was never a David. There was never a Solomon. There was never an Abraham. There was never a Moses. There's only myths. Trees, dogs, cats, snakes, and donkeys cannot talk. So you should know, just by seeing that alone, that is based on myth and it's not written to be lived with. Let me pause for a second before we go. When you create broad titles like that, always, and this is for anybody who wants to get into a debate, you have the right to ask your opponent, what are the characteristics of your argument? You don't have to wait. And if you know what your argument is, you let your opponent know, this is what I'm arguing. It's either he wants to take it or he don't. It's just that simple.
You know what? I find that very interesting, because I think that when the debate happened, they was expecting a certain type of argument that they didn't get. And so I think that's one of the reasons why they said Chris wasn't on point, because they're so focused on the title and not the argument in which the position that you're standing on. So what I want to do is this, because a lot of people talking about Chris is off topic, and so we want to go into, for those who, because I had some people who they say they can debate and they know debate and so forth and so on. I just want to go over the beginning of the debate that you had with Judah, and I kind of walk us through it as far as your argument, and then we're gonna listen to Judah's, because this opening right here, not going into prison, but the opening is kind of telling you what's going to be happening and what your standpoints is, and we'll see where Judah's at in this, because one of the main things that I kept saying is, you're on point. I was like, Chris is on point. I don't know what you're talking about. So let's see.
Is immoral and not good for me nor us as a people moving forward in the 22nd, 21st century. My points of argumentation are going to be as follows. What is my argument? Now, there are laws contained in the Bible that are simply immoral and cannot be practiced today. Many of the laws contained in the books of Exodus, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy are in fact deplorable, misogynistic, and also advocates for slavery and genocide and sanction kidnappings. So before we get started, I want to get a definition for immoral. Now, immoral or morally wrong means...
Hey, Kristen, you can tell me you want to stop whenever you want to chime in on this.
Simply,
Go ahead.
Morally wrong or outside society standards of acceptable, honest, and moral behavior. Remember, guys, Judah Naz, his position is that the Torah is a book of morals and that it is good for Black people moving forward. His position is to show that the Torah is a book that we can use moving forward. My position as the negative is that it's a immoral book. He also must show and define ma'at as being negative and bad for Black people moving forward. So I want to look at some more definitions here when I'm talking about evil and immorality, such as. And it's evil when described as a noun, as according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, is simply a, quote, cosmic evil force. This is significant because the deity itself clearly says that says through the prophet Isaiah in chapter 45, verse 7, I create good and I create evil. So God is a setup artist. This God is a setup artist as always. Also, when evil is defined as an adjective, it means profoundly immoral and wicked. So there is no need to play grammar gymnastics. I have clearly defined the word evil. I want to look at the position that Judah's going to be taking for the rest of the day. And he's going to be trying to make an ethnocentric argument today for the audience to hear. Now, ethnocentrism in social science and anthropology, as well in the colloquial English discourse, means to simply apply one's own culture or ethnicity as a frame of reference to judge other cultures, practices, behaviors, beliefs, and people, instead of using the standards of the particular culture involved. Since this judgment is often negative, some people also use them to refer to the belief that one's culture is superior to or more correct or normal than all others, especially regarding the distinctions that define each ethnicity's cultural identity, such as language, behavior, customs, and religion. In common usage, it can also
We got an amazing deal going on right now for anybody who's looking to get in shape called Test Boost Max.
simply mean any culturally biased judgment. Ethnocentrism is sometimes related to racism, stereotyping, discrimination, or xenophobia, all things that you can find on our brother Judah's channel. However, the term ethnocentrism does not necessarily involve a negative view of another's race, or indicate a negative connotation. The opposite of ethnocentrism is cultural relativism. That's what we're going to be looking at today, which means to understand a different culture in its own terms without subjective judgments, such as trying to superimpose a biblical text written in the 3rd century CE under the Greeks. You cannot superimpose a biblical text onto an entire civilization in their practices. That is called being ethnocentric, Judah Naz. Now, the term ethnocentrism was first applied in the social sciences by American sociologist William J. Sumner. In his 1906 book, Folkways, Sumner describes ethnocentrism as, quote, the technical name for the view of things in which one's own group is the center of everything. That's what these Israelites teach. They're the center of the world, but yet you can't find nothing. And all others are scaled and rated with reference to it. He further characterized ethnocentrism as often leading to pride, vanity, the belief in one's own group's superiority, and contempt for outsiders. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard a lot of the Black Hebrew Israelites in their YouTube rhetoric, and they believe that they have formed somewhat of a cultural hegemony in this country, and that God is going to place them above all nations. They are very ethnocentric. We're going to deal with something that Judah Naz is going to be using for the rest of the night, and this is called the slippery slope fallacy. Now, the slippery slope fallacy is an argument that claims that if one thing happens or is allowed to happen, then that will lead to other steps and ultimately a final outcome. In other words, if the first thing happens, then the last thing is inevitable. If written out as a formula, the slippery slope fallacy would say, if we follow A, then B, C, D, and E will occur. So A will ultimately cause E to happen, such as, you got to stand on the Pharaoh. You got to stand on the Pharaoh and Ma'at. But he never names a Pharaoh. He figures if a Pharaoh does something wicked, then that way you can't keep Ma'at, as if you're not your own thinking person. If you imagine a person at the top of an icy, slippery mountainside, the slippery slope fallacy suggests that once they find themselves at point A, it's only a matter of time until they slide down the whole slope and end up at point E.
Okay, so Chris, when you was going through that, right? You're going through that, you're opening, and you're defining ethnocentrism, and you're finding slippery slope. Okay. One thing that I noticed is that when you're defining your terms, and we'll go back because we're going to go Judah right now. One thing you'll notice is that you do not see Judah reject anything you're saying here at all. So I can only go under the assumption that he's conceding to your terms, he's conceding to your stance in your framework of argument. Why did you put? Why did you do the? Why did you put those definitions, especially ethnocentrism?
All right, so I use ethnocentrism because you have a civilization such as the so-called Israelites who never existed, and they have a text, and in their text, they're saying that Egypt is evil. Egypt is evil. Practices are evil. Everything about it is evil. And when you look at it and you begin to study anthropology, the first thing you begin to understand is how people acted and how they behaved in their societies. So when you look at Egypt and you learn about the negative confessions of or the principles of Ma'at, first thing you see or you're going to begin to learn is, this is funny, this is hilarious, is that these principles such as thou shalt not kill, I have not killed, thou shalt not steal, I have not stolen, thou shalt not commit adultery, I have not committed adultery. These principles existed within this people group way prior, they existed within this people group before any Bible ever existed. So what the Israelites do is they say everything about Egypt is evil. But when you look at Ma'at and the seven principles and you correlate it with the Bible, mainly Proverbs chapter 9, you begin to see that, wait a minute, you guys, essentially your doctrine has capitulated to Ma'at, because the same principles that your Bible stands on, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not, do a number of things. These people are already practicing these things. They like to say, well, Ma'at is not a law. You're right. It's their principles. Okay? They're principles. And the reasons why they're principles is this is what their laws are based on. And when you go to a papyrus of Hunefer, and I'm trying to give a very detailed answer here, so excuse me if it's a little lengthy. When you go to the papyrus of Hunefer and you see him making his confessions in the afterlife, you begin to see that they already understood these concepts and how to behave. They already had an understanding of these things. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So with them having an understanding of thou shalt not kill, or etc., the common sense should tell you, oh, Ma'at is a good thing because our Bible teaches us not to do these things. So you have Egypt. They have what, a 6,000 year head start on everybody over there in the Levant area with civilization, papyrus, etc., laws, etc., kings. And you have this group of people, these Johnny come lately people who come around and all of a sudden they're God's people because they have these laws which were already in existence. Now, their laws versus the principles. Think about this for a minute. Their laws are already principles in another country that predates them. But yet you're running around saying that your book is better than this entire civilization, which predates your civilization by thousands of years. A successful civilization at that, for over, believe it or not, I like to say 6,000 years, right? That's how old it was. Egypt is so old. No one's going to know everything about it. It's an old civilization. So ethnocentrism, when I was studying Robin Walker's book on When We Rule, he has a book called When We Rule. And it's a book that speaks about a lot of the African civilizations, such as Nok civilization, the Kingdom of Mali, Egypt, many of the dynastic periods of Egypt. What he began to notice is that each one of these civilizations had their own laws, and they were able to flourish and become quite prosperous and successful based on their own principles, their own agricultural techniques, their own systems of government, and how they police their people. So how can you, as a practitioner of Israelite faith, say my laws are better than your laws. Your laws are already based on the principles that are found within that very code called, or the beautiful goddess named Ma'at. So I began to learn about certain words that are consistent in the field of anthropology. And I began to see, oh, that's what they do. They make ethnocentric arguments. They judge another culture by their own culture, by their culture, or versus their culture, versus the culture and the standards that it's already set for itself. So the Bible is not relative to me. It's not relative.
So let's look at Judah. Let's see what Judah says as far as in his backup coming into his opening round, and what his stance is that his premise should be laid out with. And this is the part where, like I said, as far as in the, I'll let it play, then I'll comment out.
Tone, Judah, I hope you're not taking this lightly, because I'm watching you and you just looking around like, oh, this don't mean nothing. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes, my brother, to open up and set the tone. Let the people know exactly what you're here to prove today. And the time will start when you start. All right.
First off, I want to give all praises to the Most High Yahweh God. I want to give a salute and shalom to the whole house of Israel, even to the knuckle draggers who hate the Most High and hate intellect. Don't worry, I'm here to pick your knuckles up. But my opponent here, I'm sorry, let me apologize for that long Reverend spiel sermon. I'm not gonna hit you with all that witchcraft. I'm here to kill. That's all I do. That's all I'm here for. I want to play out something. I don't even need 5 minutes. Homeboy said that he is not going to stand on pharaohs and Ma'at. So he's trying to come with some like little weirdo new age Madame Blavatsky type folly. Nigga, ain't no one going for none of that. So I'm gonna share my screen for a second real quick so we can get him up out of here real quick just in the opening. Then that beatdown's gonna come soon after. Now get emotional. Oh, by the way, Harlem Hospital is giving beds out. You gonna need one. Watch this. Yeah, that's Judah Naz. Step into a trick.
Real quick, whenever you brothers need me to stop your time, just let me know.
All right. Well.
Pause right there. Pause right there.
Sorry, can you turn the volume?
Okay, so one of the things that I have a problem with is when Sonetta does say, if you brothers need me to pause my time, let me know. In an official debate, there is no pausing the time. Either you're ready or you're not. Either you got all your notes together and everything together so you can make a good presentation, or you don't. That's the only quip I have with that show, because I noticed when I debated Zion Lex on there, every 3 words he said, Sonetta, pause my time. He would ramble on, start my time. Sonetta, pause my time. He would ramble on, pause my time. So it made his presentation longer than what it should have been. But I felt like, albeit people do that, they take advantage of the rules. And when he was doing that, it didn't matter because I understood I was so far ahead in that anyway. So I just wanted to bring that up. So go ahead.
Volume up real quick, please.
Say that again?
Can you turn the volume up real quick? I want y'all to hear something.
No, I can't turn it up. You got to turn your stuff up.
All right, here we go. Watch this, y'all.
This is the beginning. It's impossible. These were all nations that the Greeks ruled. That's why it's only in North Africa and it's spread amongst the Mediterranean in Greece. The Greeks never conquered the lower half of Africa because Nubia wouldn't let them in there. Your ancestors, fuck them Egyptians. The Nubians is who we more closely associated with. They were the ones that fought them off and were successful. Fuck them pharaohs. Greeks ain't nothing but Amorites.
Oh, that's all we need. Uh-oh. F them pharaohs, F Egypt. That's what he said. He's dead. Don't let me calm down. Because I've been drinking coffee. You about to die, okay? He said F the pharaohs, F Egypt. So he don't stand on Kemet. So what Judah Naz was going to do is, and as quiet as kept, y'all know how I get down. I'm more Kemetic than he is. I'm actually going to teach and demonstrate what Kemeticism is. I'm not going to get into Kemetic science, which is witchcraft, but what the Egyptian way
right
is,
there.
you can't, my position is, he
So-
can't keep my odds, especially if he says,
Okay. So notice the first thing he said. He's going to teach what Kemeticism is. He's already off pace of his own argument. He's letting you know what he's going to do mid-debate. And what he tried here was he took half of a conversation. Compartmentalized it, and placed it in the span of 20 seconds instead of letting everybody hear the full conversation. That didn't really bother me because that lets me know he's still off topic presenting that, because this debate is not about the pharaohs, it's not about Egypt. And if you understood anything about Egyptian culture, you know it comes right out of Nubia. Nubia had this culture first. This is why we tell everybody that culture trumps genetics, because you are what your culture is. And he didn't understand that. That's why I said I thought that was very slick of him, but it failed. So for people like myself or yourself who understands history, you understand exactly where a lot of the culture and Tamari and Taseti come from. You know where those things come from. So yeah, let's keep going.
F the Pharaoh, who is the god of Egypt, you can't keep it. I don't need a whole 5 minutes. He said F Kemet, F the Pharaohs. That's all I need. Now, see these guns here? These going on your trachea. Let's get it popping. Torah Knights Mafia, that's what it is. All praise to Yahweh God. Out of here, bro. I don't need 5 minutes.
All right, I'm gonna pass the mic back over to Chris. We going right into the first round.
So listen to this right here.
Okay.
Now, did
Well,
you hear?
one second.
Did you hear that? Oh, go ahead.
1 second.
Okay.
This is so now for everybody who saw the debate, this is one of the things that I said about Judah's opening. Is it had really nothing to do with any of the talking points to prove whether it was better, Torah or my either one. He did a character assassination by mentioning or playing a clip, but once again, it had nothing to do with proving that Torah was better or even that Ma'at was better, but more of what your personal views or what you said at a particular time. And all of that was just total non sequitur, and it was a waste of a first round or first opening. That was the take I took on it. I was expecting for Judah to go in and say, this is what I'm going to say about Ma'at. I'm going to show this about Ma'at, or I'm going to try to show this about Egyptian culture, whether it was the homosexuality that they always bring up, the pharaohs they always bring up, something of some substance. And I think he just wasted that round. So, what do you say, Chris?
Yeah, my sentiments are the same. You're here to debate, and the first thing he does is he starts gaslighting, or character assassinating, something that I said. This was his time to elaborate and let everybody know what the debate was going to be about and what his stance was going to be. And he did not do that. He failed to articulate his own debate and tell everybody what his arguments were.
Yeah. So let's move on to right here.
Chris Harris, you got 10 minutes in this round, my brother.
And we're gonna
The
play
time
some
will
of
start
it.
when you
We'll
start.
play the first few minutes of it, and then we'll move
Right.
into this.
So as we
And once again, if y'all need me to stop the time,
that was very slick of you, Judah Nazareth, which were the Hyksos kings in that conversation. Okay, so let me get started here. Let me try and get this screen share up here.
screen is sharing.
Okay, it's sharing. Good. Okay. All right. Typical Hebrew Israelite nonsense. Stop my time for a minute, Sanetta. I'm trying to get my what's it called up here. Okay,
All
here
right,
we
you're
go.
at 9:25. Time
Okay.
stops.
Okay, cool. Okay. All right, one more time. Like I said, he's dealing with what we call a slippery slope fallacy. And
Time resumed.
Okay, and he started off right with one when I said, fuck the pharaohs, not understanding that I was speaking about the ones from the intermediary period, which were in fact the Hyksos kings. And we were having a discussion about the Nubian versus Egyptian identity of African Americans today. So once again, that's a
Yo, are you there?
slippery slope starting right off. So what we want to do is we want to look at the Jewish views on slavery.
Yeah, I'm here.
Now, Jewish views on slavery are varied both religiously and historically.
I couldn't hear
Ancient
anything.
and medieval religious texts contain numerous laws governing the ownership and treatment of slaves. Texts that contain such regulations including the Hebrew Bible, the Talmud, the 12th century Mishnah, Torah by Rabbi Maimonides, and the 16th century Shushan Aruch by Rabbi Yosef Karo. The original Israelite slavery laws found in the Hebrew Bible bear some resemblance to the 18th century BCE slavery laws of the Hammurabi text. The regulations changed over time. The Hebrew Bible contained two sets of laws, one for the Canaanite slaves and one for a more lenient set of laws for Hebrew slaves. From the time of the Pentateuch, the laws designated for Canaanites were applied to all non-Hebrew slaves. The Talmud slavery laws, which were established in the 2nd through 15th century CE, contain a single set of rules for all slaves, although there are a few exceptions where the Hebrew slaves are treated differently from non-Hebrew slaves. The laws include punishment for slave owners that mistreat their slaves. In the modern era, when the abolitionist movement sought to outlaw slavery, supporters of slavery used the laws to provide religious justification for the practice of slavery. Now remember, guys, Hebrews do have slavery in their texts. They're allowed to enslave one another, and it teaches to enslave Africans forever. And we're going to prove that today because as a people, we got to ask ourselves, are we trying to...
You have an alarming number of puppets.
I sell them online.
Let's make this puppet business legit.
Trying to be like our oppressor, or are we trying to be better than our oppressor? So the Bible does advocate slavery. And once again, when you read Exodus 21:6, it says, quote, "These are the ordinances that you are to set before them. If you buy a Hebrew servant, he is to serve you for 6 years. But in the 7th year, he shall go free without paying anything. If he arrived alone, he is to leave alone. If he arrived with his wife, she is to leave with him. If his master gives him a wife and bears him sons or daughters, the woman and children shall belong to her master, and only the man shall go free." Now, here it is in this text. You have a man owning people. It's very exploitative. And he tells the man that the woman and the children belong to me because I gave this woman to you. But they add a little loophole in the law here because the servant, 9 times out of 10, is not going to want to leave his family behind. So they add the little loophole so the servant can sit up there and stay and serve the master for life because he has or is keeping his wife and children against him. Y'all see the trick of the text? It says, "But if the Hebrew servant declares, I love my master and my wife and children, I do not want to go free, then his master is to bring him before the judges," which were Greeks, "and he shall take him to the door or doorpost and pierce his ear with an awl. Then he shall serve his master for life." He was tricked into it because the master who owned the women in the first place, because chattel slavery is practiced here in the Hebrew text, was able to keep his wife and children from him. So are you saying that we should be owning our own people and keeping his family away from him, being exploitative upon our own people? Don't you see that this is in fact justifying slavery, white supremacy, or racism, white supremacy to this day? They use this text to oppress us and to continue to hold us back. This is why you guys are on here.
Okay, so once again, my argument is simply, and I think I'm staying on course here, the Torah is no good. We can't use this book as a law code anymore. You see what I'm saying? And I'm explaining to everybody why these things, why the Torah cannot be used. And I'm trying to make a clear argument against it, not for it. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I got a question, because Cube asked a question in the chat. And I just want to ask this because it's pertaining to something that happened. One of the things that Cube said was, pretty much he says, ask him to. So you mentioned something about like the time and them stopping, but he's saying that if he's stopping it for both of you guys, then why is it a problem? And he says, didn't you just ask him to stop the time for you during the setup?
That's semantics because the time doesn't start until I get my setup going.
Okay.
And I'm not about to address that right now.
Okay.
That's based upon semantics, not about the information in the debate.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Moving on.
Fighting for it, and why, I don't know.
Ask you how come he never answers
where...
any questions on these panels.
All right, I don't want you and Q.
Moving on.
I don't want you and Q going at it. You know, he wants me to drop the link, but I don't want y'all fighting and arguing and cussing each other.
No, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in dealing with you tonight.
All right, cool. Let's go.
Slavery is legal. Now, Leviticus 25:39-46 says, if a countryman among you becomes destitute and sells himself to you, you must not force him into slave labor. This is the Israelite. Let him stay with you as a hired worker or a temporary resident. He is to work for you until the year of Jubilee. Then he and his children are to be released, and he may return to his clan and to his property of his fathers. That's the law for the Israelite. Because the Israelites are my servants whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. They were never there. They are not to be sold as slaves. You are not to rule over them harshly. See? But you shall fear your God. Your men servants and maid servants shall come from the nations around you, from whom you may purchase them. This is a chattel slave system. A woman that is a female slave, betrothed to an husband, and not at all redeemed, nor freedom given her, she shall be scourged. They shall not be put to death, because she was not free. Now here it is, if a man, excuse me, sisters in the audience, fucks a female slave, betrothed to a husband, and not at all redeemed nor freedom given her, she shall be scourged. That's misogyny. That's hatred of the female race. But nothing happens to the man because she was not free. They shall not be put to death, but she can be scourged. So we have prostitution here. This is what your Bible is advocating. Your Bible is pushing this narrative. Why? Because during the Christian era, this is what they were doing to African women. And what better way to make it make sense or make it legal for them than to put it in their religious text, Judah? You don't have a text that dates back to Moses. You believe Moses existed. Show us an original text, 1200, 1100, first millennium BCE, 900, 800, 700. Show us a complete text. If you can't show us a complete text that shows us Moses' original writings, guess what? The Septuagint stands. A Greek text. Are you telling us that the Greek text should guide our lives? Guide our lives. Are you telling me that I should be purchasing my brother? Are you telling me that I can purchase Africans, give them to my children, and let them serve them for life? They are slaves. Are you telling me that? This is the narrative in your book that you can't get around. You can run to Proverbs. I got something for that. Y'all can run all over the Bible and do Hebrew jujitsu magic. Now I want to make this clear. Ma'at means justice, peace, reciprocity, balance. Anything that he mentions outside of that is called isfet. Isfet is chaos, disorder. If he mentions a king, I want the king's name. I want a chronology. I want an original text of where you got this from, and not Christian or these weird Hindu websites that you like to go to, Judah. Today, you have to step your game up because the Bible makes it clear that slavery is allowed. But yet, this is supposed to be a legal text that could take us forward and move us forward.
All right.
Okay. So now, one of the things that one of the things that, or the main point that people are making or trying to make is the argument that you have is a different argument that I think most people was expecting, right? They was expecting you to explain Ma'at, explain Kemetic spirituality, Kemetic science, go into the teachings of Ma'at. but I don't think they actually listen to your opening and listen to your points of what you were arguing and got hung up on the title. That's what I'm seeing, right? Because this is a debate, and you have to argue certain points, and he has to accept your points. Now, when we start looking at this, when we start looking at Judah, if you were off topic or you were arguing something different, I would expect Judah to call that out, to say, "Hey, that's not the debate. Those weren't your talking points. This is what we're supposed to be arguing." And he never, you know, he only thing he kept saying is that you won't stand on my eye. You won't stand on my eye. But not addressing the talking points in the arguments that you had. So let's see. Comment on that?
Yes. Once again, this falls into Judah's hesitation to identify his argument. And when I was asking him, what is your argument? And, you know, they keep it they like to keep these titles very vague. Torah or Ma'at, which one is better for our people? And I don't teach anybody Ma'at. I've never heard me say it's better for our people. And I explained to him at the prelim, my argument is the Torah is no good. That's my argument. I let it be known. And I asked him, are you saying that Ma'at is evil? And he said, yes. I said, okay, there's your argument. You have to prove that it's evil. And he couldn't do it.
So let's see what his talking points, where he's going to come with it.
First round.
Both my accounts are blocked in the chat. I don't know why. It's really weird.
I use that. That's up to you.
All right, I'll just use that real quick.
Okay.
For one, he has a job and a birth certificate. So he is a slave, but he's complaining about slavery. His birth certificate is a receipt. He knows this. He's shipped boat cargo. So don't talk about slavery when you're a slave to the so-called white man. You work for him. He tells you how much money.
Write that down. Write that down. You're a white man. You have a birth certificate. Write that down and ask yourself, what does that have to do with Ma'at? Oh man!
It means he owns you and he has your birth certificate. You are a product, right? We want to talk about the Bible, but you're the white man's bitch. That's just what it is. Now quit being a sucker. Now let's get back to something.
All right, no name calling, brother. Please, scratch that.
He just said
time out. I gotta stop you. Scratch that off the record, y'all. No name calling, please. That goes for both of y'all. Just stay with the information.
He just said the F word and no one said nothing. He said F the Bible and no one says nothing. But Judah starts talking. But I'm not gonna
no. I'm talking about personal. You attacked him personally. That's all I'm saying. Believe me, I'm gonna be fair with both of you. Right. No name calling for him as well. If he call you names, I'm gonna stop him too. So go ahead, brother.
Don't.
This is your time. Come on.
All right. Nothing. So dude here is not talking about Ma'at. He's gonna talk about the Bible and slavery and blah 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 blah. He's done. He's a slave. Yeah, we're gonna have slaves. Slavery and
Okay, so stop it real quick. So this is one of the other things. And the reason why I'm stopping it just for anybody to view this is not that I'm biased. I actually said that Chris won the debate. I gave my reasons why I thought Chris won the debate. And I'm stopping it so I can point to you out my points in which I thought that Chris won the debate. So, you know, he talked about, like I said, the birth certificate, which I have nothing to do with Ma'at nor Torah. He also said, though Ed hominem saying Chris was a bitch. And now, once again, he's spending his time on things that are non sequitur to this debate, when he could be using it to be trying to discredit or you know, to show that Ma'at is not good for our people and Torah is.
The two things were things of antiquity, even in modern.
And he just admitted that we're gonna have slavery. Now, you admit that you're gonna have slavery, but I guess it's good for the people who own them, but it's not as good for the people who are slaves, right? And considering that you're the children of Israel, and not all Africans or Africans aren't, which means that a large number of people are going to be servants to you. That's not something that's good for our people, especially in the mixed society of the U.S. And we don't know who's the Israelite, who's just African, or so forth and so on. But after all the hell we went through, we're going to go through another hell servicing, people that look like us. So let me keep going.
Times. But anyway,
We're making servants out of people
let's get to
that look just
my
like
first
us.
round. So I'm gonna start off with
Updated
this slow
trauma.
and walk y'all through Kemet because he don't believe in Kemet because he said F Kemet and F Ma'at. So
All right, your first round is getting ready to start. You ready?
All right, let's go. I'm about to show my
Let's go. You on, Judah?
All right, I'm about to show my
All right,
screen.
let me hold your
See what I
time
mean about time?
till you get ready.
That answers it right there.
This is your first round.
What's up, guys? Alex here from Zbeck. Today I'm excited to show you our newest product, the Zbeck Tri-Screen 2.
I see your screen.
Press slideshow. All right, let's go, y'all.
All right, your screen is up. Your time will start.
All right,
Go ahead, brother.
Hold on. So the debate is what is better for our people, Kemet or Ma'at or the Torah? Of course, you're not going to hear about Ma'at or Kemet because he's just going to attack the Bible with his personal opinions and foolishness, all right? But here, I'm about to give you the real deal, okay? You can't practice Ma'at because you don't have a pharaoh. He says he keeps practicing Ma'at, but you don't have a pharaoh. And he tried to get past that, but you heard him already. F the pharaohs. F Kemet, right? But let's just go through this slow real quick, and then it's going to get worse and worse as the debate continues. No, right? So you can't practice Ma'at because you don't have a pharaoh who's the god of Egypt, right? The physical incarnation of Atum Re. Nor do you worship Atum Re, the father of the gods and the pharaohs. Let's keep it going. The father of the gods and pharaohs named Atum Re or Atum Ra, right? Synchronicity of synchronizing alcohol. Although he was at his most popular in the Old Kingdom in Lower Egypt, he is often closely associated with Pharaoh all over Egypt. Atum Ra is closely associated with the pharaohs all over Egypt. But of course, my opponent's not going to talk about Atum Re. He's not going to talk about Pharaoh because he don't keep Ma'at. Pharaoh is the maintainer of Ma'at because he's the god of Egypt, right? Atum is
Okay, so pause right there before we let
He's called the Lord of the Two Lands, just like Pharaoh, because
Now, it's important to establish a chronology when you're making assertions like this, because we know there was an upper and lower Kemet, and there were many intermediary periods where there were two kings that ruled, one in the south and one in the north. You have to be able to tell the difference or explain the difference between the temple at Karnak and the temple at Thebes. They had two different cosmologies. And this is why I was asking him, I need dates, the name of the pharaoh, and I need a chronology. It's very important because when you're talking about his kingdom, as vast as Kemet, those things are important. And if he understood those things, he could make a better argument. But go ahead, I've wasted.
Pharaoh is supposed to be an incarnation of Atum, the sun god, right? The sun god that masturbated him and brought forth the other sky daddies and human beings with his tears. Complete witchcraft foolishness. The article stated that Atum is closely associated with the pharaohs. How can you practice Ma'at and be Kemetic and you don't have a pharaoh unless you mean Joe Biden, nor do you serve Atum, who created all the gods, or Netters, right? As you can see here, you got Oswald Bates. This is what my opponent's coming with, little Oswald Bates foolishness. We're like, get out of here. Get out of here with that foolishness. Pharaohs are an incarnation of Atum, Re, or his sons. Atum was the father of the gods, creating the first divine couple. Shu, Tefnut, Ned, Good, Geb, Nut, so forth, right? Right here you see it says, many pharaohs used the title son of Atum long after the power base moved from Anu. Atum's close relationships to the king is seen in many cultic rituals and in coronation rites. Oh, check my sources there at the bottom for the people who have poor eyesight. I'm not going to call him that because I'm not going to call him names. You can read it here. Who's your pharaoh again, sir? Joe Biden? Okay? Get out of here with that, bruh. Okay? You don't keep my eye. You don't believe in Kemet. You're over here wasting these people's time, okay? Pharaoh Horemhead kneels in front of his sky daddy, Atum Re, the setting sun. Where's your pharaoh at, bruh? Joe Biden? Huh? Bill Clinton? Who's your pharaoh? Ned Flanders, who's your pharaoh for you to practice ma'at? Man, get out of here. The pyramid text, utterance 213. Atum, elevate to you. This Unas. Unas was the last pharaoh of I think the 5th dynasty, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry, he was the 9th and final king of the 5th dynasty. Look, this is in the pyramid text, which he's not going to go into because he don't believe in Kemet. Atum, the sun god who masturbated to bring out their gods. Elevate to you this Unas, who was the king or pharaoh. Enfold him in your embrace. This is your son of your body eternally. Again, how are you keeping ma'at without a pharaoh and Atum Re? Impossible. Get out of here, bro. You're a Christian. The pharaohs upon death return to the sky daddy Atum. When the pharaohs die, they are supposed to go to the duat in the sky, right? Sky daddy, right? I'm not gonna read all this because I got limited time. But basically it says, you make yourself free of what should be washed away for Atum and Heliopolis, or the city of the sun. You judge the wants in the netherworld and stand as king over the places of the primeval ocean. So basically, when the pharaoh dies, who's supposed to be Atum Ra incarnated, later on it was Horus and Osiris, he's supposed to judge the dead. So Ma'at is, again, for dead people. My opponent, he's brain dead. He's sitting here physically alive, but he's trying to fool you with this mumbo jumbo, right? Pyramid text online. When pharaohs die, Atum Ra, the sky daddy, brings him to the realm of the dead to rule there as well. The pharaoh becomes the sun as the sky daddy who rises and sets every single day. This is folly. This dude's a Christian. Well, you don't believe in Kemet. You can't accuse him of that. Pyramid text 217. What Re Atum? Unas comes to you, imperishable spirit, Lord of the dispensation. He says, your son comes to you. This Unas comes to you that he may both stride over the sky. Stride over the sky, which means what? He's the sky daddy, sun god. Atum Ra, the father. Pharaoh, the son, judge of the living, and judge of the physically dead, and given all power. Sounds like Jesus. Let's keep going. The Pharaoh is the supreme god in Egypt. This is from the pyramid text. Unas is the bull of heaven, the phallic bull, who once suffered want and who has decided to live on the essence of every god. When the Pharaoh dies, he's supposed to eat all the bas and kas of all the Egyptian gods, who eats their entrails, their intestines, when they come to the Isle of Fire with their bellies full. You see bull of heaven, penis or phallic penis solar idol. Pharaoh eats the souls and spirits of the gods whom he's over. Pharaoh becomes over the gods of Egypt. He's the supreme god in Egypt. Of course, you're not going to hear this from my opponent because you don't believe in Kemet. It's a shame when an Israelite has to teach Kemet. I'm more Kemet than these posers. As you see here, it says that Unas, or this Pharaoh, is the HOK of HOKs, who is Horus. You know, the great one. Unas is a god older than the eldest. Thousands serve him, hundreds make offerings to him. A certificate is given to him of great power by Orion, Sa, the gods, that's Osiris, right? If you don't have a pharaoh, how are you practicing Ma'at outside of Egypt? If you don't live in Egypt, you live in America, okay? And you don't have a pharaoh. This is new age nonsense. You have to be simple-minded to try to pass this BS off on people with intelligence, bro. You don't keep Ma'at. You don't have a pharaoh. You're over here posing. Pharaohs were needed to maintain Ma'at. Like other kings, the pharaoh sat at the top of the social and political order, acting as a commander-in-chief and controlled all of the military occupations. But the pharaoh was much more than just a head of state. He also helped maintain Ma'at, the divine order in the world. Without pharaoh, the Egyptians believed that the world would descend into chaos. Now, as you can see here,
Pause.
I'm not talking to him.
Right there.
Blackie Chan.
Okay, so right here, if you guys look at what he used from an illegitimate website that is not really scholastic, it does not say that, nor has he shown anything so far that states you can't practice Ma'at without a pharaoh. He hasn't provided that yet. But what he does provide is something from pbs.org. And this is based on commentary. This is not on any of their ancient papyruses. And it says the people believe that their kingdom without the pharaoh will fall into chaos. And this is mainly because the king also, albeit he is a vicar of their God, yes, he is the son of God. That's not unique to Judah. I'm surprised he would say something like that because David was called the son of God. You understand what I'm saying? So when he was correlating Atum to the Pharaoh, there's nothing wrong with that. Because the Israelites are said to be, the kings are supposed to be representatives of the God Yahweh, all right? They're just not equals to the God Yahweh, nor is the Pharaoh. Neither here nor there. Let's get back on point. In this, it says that without the Pharaoh, the people believe that their kingdom would fall into chaos.
That's two different contexts. One, in which he's saying, he stated that you can't practice it. You can't. This is not saying that. And comprehension is so hard for these guys to understand for some odd reason, you know. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
How the F he practices in Ma'at when it clearly says you need a pharaoh? This debate is actually over. He can't practice something that's dead.
He didn't say that, as you heard.
Check my sources down there. Ancient Egypt had no laws. What Pharaoh wanted was the law. But you're Kemet, huh? Ancient Egypt law was not set in stone. And although power always flowed from the Pharaoh, Egypt's laws were rather like the Nile, fluid, organic, and changing with the times, right? This dude does not know Kemet. So what he's trying to tell us is, well, you gotta practice Ma'at without a leader who's a tyrant, who says he's God, right? He put his own people in slavery, but we'll get that later on. My opponent is dead, okay? The pharaohs had to uphold Ma'at. He don't have a pharaoh. Joe Biden's not a pharaoh, bro. Stop. In Egyptian cosmology, the goddess Ma'at embodied the concepts of order, truth, and justice. Viziers often wore a pendant in the form of the goddess. Let's keep it going, right? Egyptians believed that living according to her precepts, honesty, loyalty, and obedience to the king, to the pharaoh, would keep the chaos at bay. The Isfet he's talking about. In Egypt only. Obedience to the king or pharaoh would keep chaos or Isfet at bay. Sir, who the hell is your pharaoh? Okay, you're dead, bro. Okay? The pharaoh's justice was unrelenting because his role in keeping order, according to Ma'at's principles, was critical to preserving the well-being of Egypt. The pharaoh had to maintain Ma'at. Without a pharaoh, you can't practice Ma'at. He's going to try to pull some foolishness. It's like wearing a Christian cross and not even know who Jesus is. This is what this dude's trying to pass off on people. I mean, how damn? Dudes keeping Ma'at with Joe Biden as pharaoh. Kemet had no laws. Chris Harris has no pharaoh. And neither do any of my people. So how the hell is Kemet good for us? This is foolishness. Okay? Summary of Chris Wong's funeral. There's no way to get around it. You need a pharaoh and his father Atum Re to keep and practice Ma'at. Pharaoh upheld and maintained Ma'at by his rule. Pharaoh is a composite human deity composed of his father Atum Re, the setting sun, Osiris, the sun god at night in the realm of the dead, and Horus, who is Atum's great-grandson, the deified pharaoh of Kemet physically. The only way to maintain this folly is through modern Freemasonry, Hinduism, the Dionysian or Bacchanalian or Eleusinian mystery system, as ancient Egypt is dead. Now, with that, I forgot what number this is. Escape. I'm gonna stop right there. I'm not gonna use my whole time because we got more. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, bear with me one second. That's 17. Cool. We're gonna keep it going. How much time I have, son? That
Say that again. What you said?
How much time do I have?
Oh man, you could have just kept going.
Oh,
got a minute.
Oh, cool. That's all I need. So as you can see here, Judah Naz don't come with no emotions. I come to kill. You can't practice Ma'at without a pharaoh. Dude don't have a pharaoh. That's why you heard him say F pharaoh, F Kemet. But he don't get up in here and lie to you people and try to use that slick used car salesman foolishness to beguile you. But Judah Naz are gonna tell you the truth. You ain't gotta like me, but like the truth, because that's all I'm gonna give to you. And sometimes the truth don't taste that well, but I'm here to serve it to you anyways. All praise to the Most High Yahweh.
Okay, so one of the things I want to say, and this is just my critique, right? So the whole time that he was doing what he was doing, right? When he started with Atum, and he said you can't practice him out with a pharaoh. He probably said you can't practice him out without a pharaoh about 5, maybe 6, 7 times. He spent all his time pretty much saying how you couldn't practice Ma'at without a pharaoh. And he just gave one source, and it didn't say that. It says that the Egyptians believed that without the pharaoh, that it would go into chaos. And then it says that the pharaoh helped maintain Ma'at. And so there was nothing there that says like, well, you can't practice it. You can't, you can't do it. That you actually, it's an absolute, like you need the pharaoh. Nothing said that. And he kept saying like the Pharaoh, the ancients had no laws, and that it was fluent with the times. Now he said that, but that's still, I mean, we're talking about Kemet per se and not Ma'at. Even if that was true, we're talking about Kemet. We're not talking about Ma'at. You should have been talking more about the lifestyle of the people. You should have been talking about how Ma'at failed them, or kind of, you should have did a comparison of pretty much what you did with the Bibles when you brought up the slavery, you brought up the misogyny, you brought out the rape, you brought out these things about the Torah, and then he validated it. He said, yeah, we're going to have slaves. You a slave. Oh, we're going to have slaves. So I think, so if we just go by 2 rounds, he lost both of those rounds. Right? And I don't see how anyone else could say anything different. So, you and Chris.
Okay, so at the beginning of my argument, and this is why I think I'm so good at what I do sometimes, I toot my own horn. I said that he was going to be making an ethnocentric argument by saying something is evil just because his culture believes it's evil. You understand? And now he's really afraid to go in. He can't. He's cut off. He's cut off at the pass. He knows he can't make certain arguments now because I already have identified the arguments that I'll be making against him, or what arguments excuse me, the arguments I said he was going to make. Once he does it, it's like, damn, I'm guilty of that. I can't do it now. And this is why it's important to study argumentation, because we are dealing with cultural relativism. Cultural relativism. And unfortunately, the Bible, not relative to a 5,000-year-old civilization. It's just not relative at all. So I think I've said all I needed to say. He hasn't shown us, he's trying to say Kemet is evil based on his preconceived notions due to the Bible. That's his argument thus far. Kemet is evil because the Pharaoh is God. And he has nothing else to say. He's out of ammo. So he even posts a source that doesn't even say what he's saying it says. So I find it all hilarious. But go ahead. Let her rest.
And pretty much it was just more of that. I mean, in here you in the debate you went over those points. You covered those points. And once again, he spent more time like going into the language. So so why he says, so why does Kemet other oldest gods have a Hebrew name? These things. So let me show this. So I'm not even gonna play it, but I want people to understand when they start talking about like these debates, right? Can you tell me what does this have to do with Ma'at? Anybody? Anybody tell me how this is damaging to Ma'at? Is it because it says cave or grave, or he got a dictionary and he learned a few words, so now he's a linguist and Meruneta or Coptic, which he tried. We're going to cut this short in a minute. In which he tried with Jabari. It looked like he went from here and then took this kind of path to Jabari, right? And then we continue, right? He says Egyptian prayers to the Hebrews, right? Once again, how does that have to do with what the hell does this have to do with the debate, right? Okay, let's go back.
No.
Egyptian word for accusing Hebrew. Okay, we got Satan. Okay. Damage, and we talking about some scripts, and we talking about some mythology. Okay. Egyptians say shalom, 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 shalom. So, Hotep failed. Okay. Okay. And this is your face. This is your face. let's wait. Hold on. Wait. I got
teach y'all, huh? Okay. The word Barak, like Barakah, Barakeh, Aramaic, Egyptian. But the Israelites were never in Egypt. So then why y'all speaking our language? Show me Egyptian words in our language. You can't. Hebrew, Aramaic, and Akkadian loanwords. Listen, Harlem Hospital is giving beds out. Beat him down, beat you down. Why are Akkadian, which is Sumer, why are these words in ancient Egypt?
Okay. Once again, Sinetta is looking at this and like, what the hell is he talking about? Judah then went straight past right field, out the stadium, past the parking lot,
Full-blown retard.
went past his home, and admitted himself into Shady Acres.
Why is Aramaic Kathan in the Arabic, in Greek, and all these things in ancient Egypt? You can see here, you can see the demonic over here, in Coptic. Let's keep it going. What I tell you about coming around here messing with these people? Get your butt in that car, boy. Okay?
Okay, so
the word for lily in Hebrew is.
We gonna stop that madness real quick. Let's
address
back
the
to
fornication that was going on right there in your own society.
So now this is the
All
part
right,
that you did,
brother
right?
Chris, you
This
got
is your rebuttal
2
part,
minutes
right?
in your rebuttal round before your time starts, my brother.
Because I didn't want nobody to say,
Hi,
well, you didn't show
thanks for
Chris.
coming. We are looking for a new doctor for our daughter Alex.
Well, I'm board certified.
All right, give me a second.
And at this point, I don't know how on topic you would even have to be. It's one of those things where, I mean, like this was so bad, you could just sit there and say, my eye. So let's see.
That's all I could have done. Bad.
It was that bad. It was just like,
Bad.
it's like playing a game.
Bad.
It's like playing a game. Your opponent show up but never get off the bench. All you got to do is stand on the court. If you never come off without scoring a basket, you forfeit by never really showing up.
Second Sonetta for a minute.
Yes.
I lost my spot where I was at, trying to listen to that. I want to go into, matter of fact, wait a minute, stop my time. Let me get the picture up real quick. I got the picture up, Sonetta. Let me get that picture up real quick. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to, oh, geez, it won't pull up. Okay, here, let me do it like this then. Let me just do this real quick. I did not.
Hi, thanks for coming. We are looking for a new doctor for our daughter Alex.
Well, I'm board certified.
And he says that, where are the laws at? Where are the laws at? Judah, not every, once again, you are making a very ethnocentric.
Okay, so that's one of them, right? He said they have no laws. That's one.
Argument here. We did not have books containing a bunch of laws. That is Greek. Africans already had advanced civilizations. We had a 10,000-year head start on civilization. We already knew how to act. It clearly tells you in your biblical narrative, when y'all came out of Egypt, y'all needed laws in order to live in the land because y'all did not understand civilization, albeit y'all were never there. He keeps on talking about we have laws in order how to live in our kingdom. What kingdom? It was never there. You have to show that type of information. Now, the 42 negative principles of Ma'at, yes, you are right. Hunefer, such as in the papyrus of Hunefer, he is mentioning things that he has not done in the afterlife. Why? Because he knew not to do them when he was alive, Judah.
Okay, so once again, that talks about is for the dead. He's showing that the Ma'at is exemplifying the behavior of your mortal life, not your immortal life.
because the entire civilization was based around the principles of Ma'at, which is, once again, I have not done iniquity, I have not done violence, I have not stolen, I have done no murder or harm, I have not stolen food, I have not withheld offerings, I have not acted deceitfully, I have not told lies, I have not wasted food, I have not caused anyone or anything pain, I have not cleared my ears to the truth. I have not closed my ears to the truth. I have not committed adultery, which is found in your biblical narrative. I have not committed fornication. I have not cursed. I have not laid waste or plundered the land. You guys do those things. We were a peaceful people. It wasn't until you all came in there with your nonsense that terrorism began. You gotta show a text. Your text is a Christian era text. We already had those principles. Why is it that y'all feel like because y'all got a book and your oldest book is the Greek text, the Septuagint, y'all are superior? This doesn't make you superior. Nothing you showed has debunked me. Here, he mentions fornication, but it's weird. That's weird here because I want to address the fornication that was going on right there in your own society. We're going to address that in my in my presentation. So with that being said, he still has not showed why you have to debunk, that we can't keep Ma'at. He hasn't showed one negative aspect of it. What he has showed, in fact,